still remember the night she said it. Not the tone, not even the words, but the silence right after. That cold, cutting silence that made me realize something inside me had just died. We were arguing about something stupid. I don't even remember what it was. But then she sighed, rolled her eyes and said, "You know, my ex never made everything such a big deal. He knew how to handle me. He was superior." That word, superior, echoed in my mind long after she'd walked away. I stood there, trying to convince myself I'd misheard. But deep down, I knew she meant it. She wasn't comparing small habits. She was comparing men. And in that comparison, I'd lost. Her name was Vanessa. We'd been together for almost 4 years. I'd met her when she was still recovering from a messy breakup, the kind where you rebuild someone piece by piece, hoping that one day they'll see your effort. I became that safe guy, the one who listened, who fixed things, who believed that love could be earned through patience. But the truth? You can't outlove someone's ghosts. They always find their way back. The following days were strange. She'd laugh at her phone more than usual, keep it face down on the couch, and mention places they used to go as if testing how far she could push me. I didn't react. Not because I didn't care, but because I'd already begun to detach. When someone you love humiliates you once, it's anger. When they do it again, it becomes clarity. She cheated a week later. I didn't catch her. She confessed. Maybe out of guilt or maybe to prove some twisted point. She said she'd reconnected with him. That it just happened. I sat across from her at our kitchen table, staring at the woman I thought I knew, while she picked at her nails and avoided eye contact. She said it like it was an accident, like she'd tripped into someone else's bed. The part that still burns isn't the cheating. It's what came after. She said, "It made me realize how much I've missed being with someone who knows what he's doing." That was her way of saying I wasn't enough. Not as a man. Not as a partner. Not even as a memory. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood up, walked to the bedroom, and started packing. She didn't even ask me to stay. Not until she realized I was actually leaving. Then came the soft voice, the trembling lip, the sudden tears. But they weren't for me. They were for the stability she was about to lose. I left that night. No drama. No final words. Just silence and a closed door. Over the next few days, she called. At first, angry messages, accusing me of being childish, dramatic. Then softer ones, saying she missed me, that she made a mistake, that it was just a moment of weakness. I didn't reply. Instead, I shut down everything. Blocked her number, deleted her photos, disappeared from every corner of her world. If she wanted to compare, I'd give her nothing left to measure. And that's when the real story began. 3 weeks later, I started hearing from mutual friends. Apparently, Vanessa wasn't doing well. The guy she cheated with had ghosted her completely. She'd been trying to find closure. But all she found was silence. The same silence I'd been living in for months. She reached out to my sister, asking if I was okay. Told her she regretted everything. That she didn't think I'd actually leave. But I was gone, not just physically. Mentally. Emotionally. Spiritually. Sometimes the most painful revenge isn't yelling or proving someone wrong. It's disappearing so completely that they start questioning if they ever really knew you at all. The thing about silence is that it doesn't just fill space, it starts to echo. At first, Vanessa probably thought my absence was a temporary tantrum. That I'd come back after cooling off, like I always did. But when weeks turned into months, that silence began to haunt her. And unlike me, she wasn't built to live with it. I moved to another city. Small apartment, quiet neighborhood, no traces of the past. I stopped checking her socials, stopped wondering who she was with, stopped trying to understand why she did it. Because at some point, understanding doesn't heal you, it only keeps you tied to the pain. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, quietly, like a man stitching his own wounds in the dark. Meanwhile, she started unraveling. It began with random messages from unknown numbers. "Hey, can we talk? Please, just 5 minutes." I ignored them. Then came the emails, longer and more desperate. She wrote that she'd made a huge mistake, that the guy she cheated with wasn't who she thought he was, She said she missed my calmness, my stability, the way I used to make everything feel safe. Funny how people start romanticizing the very peace they once found boring. One of her messages said, "You disappearing like this? It's cruel. I just want to explain." But the truth was, there was nothing left to explain. Some things don't need closure. They just need distance. Months passed. I got promoted at work, joined a gym, reconnected with old friends. I even started seeing someone new, a woman named Claire. She was kind, grounded, nothing like Vanessa. The first time she asked about my past, I told her the truth. Not to earn pity, but because I didn't want to build another house on silence. She just nodded and said, "You don't look like someone who's still stuck there." And for the first time, I realized she was right. One night, out of nowhere, Vanessa showed up at my apartment. It was raining, heavy, relentless rain that blurred the streetlights. I heard a knock, opened the door, and there she was, drenched, shivering, eyes wide like she'd seen a ghost. For a second, I almost didn't recognize her. The confidence, the arrogance, gone. What stood before me wasn't the woman who compared me to her ex. It was someone hollowed out by regret. She said, "You really weren't supposed to move on this easily." I didn't answer, just stood there, watching her search my face for the man she once belittled. "I thought you'd fight for me," she whispered. "I did," I said quietly. "But you mistook my patience for weakness." There was nothing left to discuss after that. She cried, begged, said she'd do anything to make things right. But love isn't a switch you can flip when loneliness hits. Once you kill someone's peace, they don't crave your presence anymore. They crave their own solitude. I closed the door gently, didn't slam it, didn't curse, just closed it. Behind it, her sobs blurred with the rain, and that was the last time I ever heard her voice. It's been over a year now. I sometimes think about how different life feels when you stop chasing closure and start choosing peace. I'm not bitter anymore. In a strange way, I'm even grateful. She taught me that sometimes losing someone is the only way you find yourself. Every now and then, I still get messages from people who knew us. They say she isn't the same, that she regrets everything. But regret isn't love. Regret is just realizing too late that you took stability for granted. As for me, I've learned that walking away quietly isn't weakness, it's power. Because when someone tells you that you're not enough, the best thing you can do is vanish so completely that they have to live every day wondering how someone inferior managed to move on without them. In the end, she said her ex was superior. Maybe he was. But the day I disappeared, she learned something her ex never could teach her. What it feels like to lose a man who loved her enough to never come back.